I looked at investments that were made by great investors where the results were negative. They lost money. And that's really kind of public knowledge because we have 13Fs they file when they buy and 13Fs they file when they sell. So we were able to figure out, which investments Warren Buffett made where he made money or lost money, or, a number of investors that we respect. Then the second question we asked is if a investment ended up with a negative return, was there data available before the investment made? First of all, try to understand why did the investment not work? And then the third question we asked ourselves was that visible before the investment was made? So for example, sometimes, and so let's take the example of USA. USA was an investment Warren Buffett had made a long time ago, and it did not go well. In the end, he ended up not losing money, but for a while it didn't do well. And the reason it didn't do well was he misread the moat. So Southwest Airlines had come in, they were a low-cost provider, and they really hammered US Air's Pittsburgh hub and so on. And that was visible. That was visible before the investment was made. So it was related to competition and moats, misreading of competition and moats. So what ended up happening when we created this checklist was it fell into a number of very nice buckets. Why did investments not work? The single largest reason investments did not work was leverage. So leverage has been an Achilles heel for a lot of business. The second biggest reason was some kind of misunderstanding on the moat or competitive advantage of the business. So the investor basically misunderstood or basically couldn't really figure out that the moat wasn't as deep and wide as they thought they were. Then the third issue was, things like management ownership. There were issues with the nature of management or the nature of ownership, which again was visible before. And then you got into some other issues like unions and things like that. So, but these three were the big ones, right? Leverage, moats, and management. And so the checklist ended up, I think currently the checklist I use has about 170 questions on it, and it really carries more than its weight in a big way. So when I've done the research on an investment, before I pull the trigger, I run the checklist. And what happens is the biggest value it adds is there will usually be at least 7, 8, or 10 questions, which I don't know the answer to. And that's the biggest, I would say, benefit of the checklist, because it forces me to do more research. And sometimes to answer those 10 questions might take another month or two of figuring it out. And then we can again go back and run the checklist when we have all those answers. Then we are able to see what are the weak points in the business, what could cause a problem. And when we can see that, then we can make a go, no-go decision. Because there are no businesses which have no issues. Every business has issues. The question is, how does it kind of lay out, and how comfortable can you get with the issues surrounding the business? Like, for example, in 2012, we invested in Fiat Chrysler, and we knew the auto industry is horrible. But we also knew that all the union contracts had been redone, and Detroit had become a great place to make cars and so on. And the markets didn't yet understand that. And so that's an example of, digging in and going in even when there were unions and there were competitive advantage issues and all of